Warning, the following audio transmission will forever change your outlook on society. You will no longer believe the narrative. You are about to wake up and see things for what they really are. News, facts, and opinions. This is the Doom Daily Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been ranting a lot lately on the show. I hope it's at least entertaining for everybody. Anyway, it's Thursday morning for you. Maybe you're making a bowl of cereal. Maybe you're waiting for the toast to pop up. Maybe the coffee maker is broken. Either way, you got today and tomorrow, and boom, weekend's here. You'll be all right. So I woke up, had a decent morning, took off to work, did my job, had a decent day at work. The heat is unbearable already, I feel like. We had a good long spring working up to this, but it feels like we're in the dead of summer already. Like 80 feels like 90, and I don't know why. It's not making any sense to me, but it feels extremely hot. So I had a lot of sweating going on today at work, kept hydration up like always, and boom, came home. My wife overcooked turkey in the crock pot, and I tried to tell her it was overcooked without being like a dick. I'm just like, hey, I think you left that in there too long. I can't eat it. I don't like it. I've overcooked things in the crock pot before, and anybody that's ever done this, you know that flavor that you get when a meat has been in that water too long, absorbing water. It's like a waterlogged, nasty flavor. I just can't do it. It's not good. It's like, and it's a very familiar flavor when you experience this. So I ended up just having salad and a protein bar, rock and roll. We'll be all right. Had a decent lunch today. My coworkers wanted to go out for lunch. We went out to a little restaurant in town that's mainly known for their dinner, and I've never been there for lunch. So this was a first-time experience for me going there, but I got the same shit I normally get, chicken strips, some salad. That's usually what I get. That's what I got today. And I must say, I don't like to shit talk any restaurants at all, but the lunch portions are so much smaller than the dinner portions. Like, I left hungry, and I'm like, man, I don't feel all that satisfied, but whatever. You also, when you're going these places in uniform as a first responder, you're also getting your food discounted. Okay. So I'm not going to complain too much about like the lack of food that was there. And this isn't being an American portion thing either. I mean, if all I'm getting is chicken strips and a side salad, I kind of want more than 3 chicken strips. You know what I'm saying? I want something that's going to fill my stomach a little bit. And that's why I was like, side salad and chicken strips. And it's just like you get 3 and it's like they're not very big. And okay, well, whatever. So came home. Me and Little Dooms went for a ride in the Subaru. Just around town, had to get a couple things. And now I'm here sitting in the Subaru. After, of course, shaving and showering and feeling nice and fresh again, sitting out here in the Subaru recording with you guys. We had to force feed a goat baking soda water today. Thankfully, I had a gigantic syringe that we were able to fill with baking soda and water and get this into the goat through its mouth. So we took the big syringe without a needle, obviously, and kind of waited till it opened its mouth up and shot a little bit in there and let it kind of drink it, and then shot a little more in there because this little baby goat, it looks like a balloon. It's so bloated, it's unreal. And apparently they can get a blockage. Okay. They can get a blockage in there from maybe eating like too much hay, or maybe like a wet chunk of hay, or a carrot didn't get digested properly and now it's stuck. But apparently the baking soda will work whatever it is loose, and the little goat will start to burp and fart. So it'll hopefully fix the goat. I've never had to do this doctoring with the goats before, but my wife apparently knows what she's doing. So we found ourselves giving the goat the baking soda with water. Other than that, I mean, not too much has happened today. Got to wash my car at work. I convinced my coworker to wash his Subaru as well. Well, I didn't really do much convincing. I'm like, dude, you should get your car over here and wash it too. It doesn't look too great. Oh, okay, cool. So we washed our cars together, our little bromance going on with our Subarus. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. And yeah, now we're sitting here. Guys, I want everybody to start sharing the show out and start reposting the show on your social media, on your Facebook, on your Instagram, wherever it is you have the capability of sharing and posting. Start sharing and posting, okay? The download numbers are good. The new following numbers are good. But I'm looking at like the kind of downloads I get with It's Doomsday Podcast, and I'm looking at this, and I know this show is still new and still fresh, but like I'm looking at these two numbers here, and I'm like, man, we got to get these ones where that show is, so this message can get out there to more people, okay? Because I feel like it's an important message, and unlike the other show, I feel like this one is way more shareable. You're not going to get as many sideways looks sharing this out as opposed to sharing out It's Doomsday Podcast. I'm just saying, it's one of those things that no one knows it exists unless somebody shows somebody else that it does exist. So you show a friend, he shows a friend, so on and so forth, and then the numbers start to increase. And I never really asked anybody to do that when we started It's Doomsday Podcast. People found the show, they liked the show, and the show grew. And then we started doing in-person events, and a lot of people didn't know about the show, and then the show grew more. And now, when I'm in a certain realm of people, some people know about the show. Some people actually listen to it. And like, that blows my mind when someone walks up to me and they're like, dude, I listen all the time. We were listening on the way here to the event. And I'm like, oh, dude, that's so cool. He's like, yeah, my son was, there was one guy I ran into, my son was listening to you in the car. He was so excited to meet you. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. So there are experiences like that. But anyway, just share it out for me. Do me that favor. Share it out so we can make this show grow some more. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after these messages.
Want to advertise on the Doom Daily Show? Send producer Scooter an email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com, and this 15-second ad slot could be yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. Producer Scooter, we got an email. Speaking of the email, we got an email. I'm not going to read through the entire email, but it's in regards to the student loan stuff we were talking about yesterday. And the emailer didn't say it was okay to use their name or not, so I'm just not going to. But the email says this: you left out the parents and the students that busted their asses and made sacrifices in order to graduate without any student debt. I know, even wealthy people get student loans to go to college. Even middle-class people use student loans to continue a middle-class lifestyle while getting an education. These groups are both entitled SOBs that don't deserve my tax-funded reparations. Save the tax-funded charity for the busted-ass homes and the poor people that would not have any other path to college. Thank you, listener, for sending that email. All right, let's break this down a little bit. I love getting listener emails, so I was really excited to read this on the show today. So, yeah, I did leave out the parents and the students that did bust their asses and made the sacrifices, because I think everybody knows somebody that worked their way through college and paid accordingly to not accumulate a bunch of student debt, right? And some of these people worked 1-2 jobs while going to school, and probably shitty jobs too. There's a lot of people out there that wait tables to get through college, to get through school. And it's not that hard of a job, but it is a hard job, and it's a job that has a very fluctuating income. So you could go in on a slow night and come out of there with $20. You can go there on a busy night and come out with maybe $250. It just depends on what your night's like. Now, your income is not guaranteed in that realm, but your student loans or your student payments that you have to make, your educational payments, those are guaranteed. Those aren't going to change based on how much money you make. So, with that being said, let's tear into a couple other things. There's a lot of community colleges that offer... So this is something I didn't know before I got into the realm of EMS type things, okay? And what I didn't know was that the community colleges will pay for volunteers to further their education if it's within the realm of emergency services. All right. So I got anatomy and physiology class paid for me for free, but I had to go through and buy the book. Okay, I had to go and I had to buy the expensive book out of pocket. That was not covered by the county. Now, this is a fault of Jester. Jester did not get to finish anatomy and physiology because I started working night shift at the time. And with my night shift schedule, it was like impossible to get anything done. Because I'm up all night, working all night at the prison. I can't bring a book to read. I can't bring a computer to study. I'm not allowed to do shit. So trying to study or anything for these really hard, difficult exams was like few and far between. When I'm off of work, I'm sleeping, trying to recuperate. Okay. So, and then when I am not working and I am not sleeping, the last thing I'm wanting to do is study. And so the best I could actually do was when we were doing, a lot of it was online, which didn't help either. It'd be a lot different if I was sitting in a classroom. But the best I could do is I would put, when we were doing our online lectures or going over things, I would put the lecturer, because it was all pre-recorded, on a Bluetooth speaker, and I would move around the house and clean and do laundry and do things that needed to be done while listening to the lectures. Okay. And then same thing with the book. I can convert on the computer all the chapters of the book over to audio and listen to the audio. But, and this could be something that essentially goes against me with this, maybe old Doomy here didn't finish and didn't put forth all the effort maybe he could have because it was free. And that's why I don't agree with free school personally. That's like my whole thing. If people get it for free, everybody will do it and they won't push themselves for success. Now, me, I didn't have a bunch of money online that I personally invested and busted my ass for. So it was like, well, if I can't finish it, I can't finish it. We'll revisit this journey later on in life. It's not costing me anything. I already got the book. If I want to revisit it, I can. No big deal. That's why I'm against free school. But to get into this, there's a lot of free school options out there that a lot of people negate, okay? You can go to the military, you can get the GI Bill, you can do what I'm talking about and be a volunteer locally in your area and get the community colleges to pick up a lot of extra things for yourself, okay? There's also a lot of apprenticeship programs that don't cost anything. There is a lot of grants out there right now that allow you to take short programs like little, maybe it'll cover maybe like a 6-month course in something. And then once you accumulate that one thing and you're doing better than minimum wage, or you're doing a job that you may actually enjoy, maybe that employer will pay to further your education, because that's something else a lot of people forget about too, is we have employee funded further education. All right. There's a lot of companies out there, once you've been with them for so long, they will cover student loans or pay you to further your education up to a certain dollar amount. And these are all things that people negate or they forget. Everybody's like, well, we should just get free school, or we should get student loans paid for. Like, there are so many options out there right now in this moment that you can go and get right now. And it's as simple as putting forth a little bit of effort, and people simply just don't want to. A lot of people that are bitching that education isn't free and that the student loans need to be repaid, they have a very counterproductive argument. On one side of the spectrum, they're arguing they can't go back to school because they can't afford to pay the loans. Okay, fair, valid point. But did you take the time to look into something that would be free, or covered by a grant, or covered by a certain employer, or maybe covered by the GI Bill if you went to the military? Or maybe did you look for apprenticeships? Did you volunteer with local emergency services and see what the community colleges have to offer? How much effort did you put in before you made the conclusion of, oh, it's not getting paid back, I'm not doing it? Okay, how much effort did you make? School requires research and effort. If you really wanted the further education and there's nothing out there, I'm sorry. If you can't afford to go, you can't afford to go. You're obviously not going to pay your student loans being a barista at Starbucks. It's not going to be a thing. But maybe you stay a barista at Starbucks and you get one of these local volunteer positions going, and you get the county to cover some expenses for you to further education so you could get out of being a barista and maybe get into something a little bit better, thus affording more, having more income to maybe afford to do more with school. You see what I'm saying? Like, if there's a will, there's a way. And a lot of these people are just lazy and stupid, and they complain just for the sake of complaining. There's a lot of options out there. All right. There's a lot. There's a lot of on-site employee training. There's raises that come along the way. They'll send you for certifications. It's like One thing I like about being in emergency services where I am is they will continue to help with furthering education. It never stops. You could take this shit to the moon damn near. There's always something to learn. There's always something extra, and it's always covered. Anyway, we'll be right back after these messages.
Jester from It's Doomsday Podcast and the Doom Daily Show here. Do you ever find yourself overloaded with way too much information? Too many logins, too many passwords, too many websites for stuff you like? Yeah, I'm the same way. You don't have to worry about that with the Doom Daily Show and It's Doomsday Podcast. Let's make it simple. Just visit linktree.com/JesterDooms. Add it to your bookmarks. That way, when you need to find the right information, it's right there, under a tap of your finger or a click of your mouse. Go to linktree.com/JesterDooms. Get it, got it, done. Remember, no one has all the answers, but this will provide you with a place to start. linktree.com/JesterDooms.
And now, on with the conversation. And here's Jester.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. Okay, so check this out. We talked the other day about, people getting Second Amendment rights back. And now there's a little update on some of this that's going on. This is on the Epic Times. This is by Roman. These last names of these guys. Balmakova. I think I'm saying that correctly. Okay. Millions of Americans may get Second Amendment rights back. Facts matter. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has just ruled that banning all felons from being able to own guns is unconstitutional. This now flings the door wide open for potentially upwards of 20 million people to try and restore their right to keep and bear arms. However, it's worth mentioning that there is a lot of nonsense to this story, and so let's go through it together. That's what this article says here. Guys, before we really tear into this, I do want you to understand that not every single felon is going to get their rights back. You know what? Just fuck the article. Let's go off on this, okay? Hold on. Not every felon is going to get their rights back. Things aren't going to... Violent felons who have committed violent felonies will not get their Second Amendment rights restored, okay? It's just that simple. If you had attempted murder and you got out, they're not going to give you a gun, okay? If you have serious assault charges against any type of law enforcement, against, beating on a female, things like that, you're probably not going to get these back. If you had felony charges that came along with resisting arrest, brandishing a weapon, anything that would suggest, if you got any single crime that would suggest if he had a gun, he would use this in a bad, dangerous manner. These guys aren't going to get these guns back. Their firearms rights are not going to be restored. And then the other thing, okay, this is going to go on a case-by-case basis. They are not just going to open the floodgates and have everybody's felonies just disappear and everybody start getting their guns back. That's not how that's going to go. This is going to be on a case-by-case basis, and that's it. And I'm willing to bet any amount of money there is going to be some precursors to this. If you're still on probation, you're not going to get a gun. If you're on any type of probation, you're probably not going to get a gun. If you're on parole, you're probably not going to be allowed to get a gun. Okay? You're going to have to be cleared of probation, cleared of parole, cleared of these things, probably for X amount of time, before, and then apply for these rights to be restored, is probably what's going to happen. All right? It's not going to be just this wide open floodgate session of everybody gets their rights back all at once and everybody's packing again and watch your ass. Like, no, that's not going to be a thing. I personally think that some felonies are bullshit. I do think people get wrongly convicted all of the time. There's a lot of men out there that are sitting in, and I hate to say this, but you know, we're gonna call a spade here. There's a lot of men that are sitting in prison with felony charges that didn't do jack shit except marry some crazy broad. Okay, there's a lot of women out there that get very spiteful in breakups, in divorce, and things like this. And the go-to is to have charges pressed against these men, mainly because it's widely believed. All right. And it stays widely believed. The female side is always taken. All right. He did this. He did that. He beat me. He blah, 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 blah. He threatened to kill me. He pulled a gun on me, blah, blah, blah. Like all these things. Right. So, you know, when these come along with felony charges and these guys end up in prison, a lot of the times, you know, what they're saying happened didn't happen. It was just a spite thing, you know, and it's really fucked up that the females get away with this so frequently. It really, really is. And I'm not saying that all females are lying, because there's a lot of women out there that suffer from domestic abuse that actually do need help, that can't get help because they're married to some narcissistic, horrible person, or have some narcissistic, crazy boyfriend that they're scared to get away from. So there are women out there going through that as well, that are dealing with these piece of shit men. So it is a real thing, but you know, the system is used against men all of the time. And these are the ones, though, because of the violent nature of what these women say, things that happen, these are ones that won't get their rights restored, you know. And I'm going to also assume if anybody out there that has got a felony has had a protection order filed against them, it is, they're probably not going to have their rights restored either. I'm just going to assume. Anyway, we'll be right back after these messages.
Can't get enough of Jester Dooms? Check out his other show, It's Doomsday Podcast, available on all podcast platforms. That's It's Doomsday Podcast.
Back to the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Doom Daily Show. I am your host, Jester Dooms. The email, doomdailyshow@gmail.com. So something I did want to touch on tonight before we got into that side tangent with the guns there, because the article caught my eye, and I didn't care to read through the whole thing and go off on that. But I just did want to give my 2 cents on it, because a lot of the stuff we see is bullshit. Okay. And we're just going to move on from it. But something to tag back to the, email we got, you know, with these parents that paid for their student loans. One thing I've been wanting to talk about on the show is, you know, what is actually your job as a parent? Okay. What is actually your job? And this is one that hits a little close to home for me. Okay. So I personally don't believe it is your job to pay for your child's education. I don't believe that. Okay. Now, could I see helping your child with education in certain aspects? Yes. You know, if my son came to me and said, Dad, I just graduated high school, I'm going to college, it's X amount of, you know, hours away, I'm going to have to stay there, I'm going to need some help with rent. Okay, I'd probably throw you a bone and help you out with some, you know, some spending money here and there, help you out with the rent a little bit, stuff like that. Would I pay for the whole thing? No. No, because if you're going to put yourself through it, you're going to put yourself through it. When I went to school, I thankfully just got laid off at the time, and I collected some decent unemployment due to a layoff. So I was able to use my unemployment money to pay my rent while going to school. And then of course, student loans were deferred. So I didn't have anything to worry about. Okay. Did I struggle a lot? Yeah. Cause unemployment wasn't shit and rent was high. Thank God I had a roommate, or it never would have worked. All right. So I would help in that capacity, but I think it's also, you know, where your child is at educationally too. You as a parent have to look at your child and say, am I making a good investment or am I making a bad investment? If you have a child that is like, you know, prioritizes school, they get all straight A's, they have a perfect behavior, they're taking extra academic courses, they're graduating with honors, their report card's always perfect, you know, they're valedictorian or what, you know, all these good praisable things, and it's consistent and it's all the time, you know that child is going to go to college and they're going to put forth effort. It's not like they're going to be out on Rumspringer running around, like a chicken with their head cut off, partying the whole time and being late for class and things, right? You've watched that child grow up. So you know that child, if they have a knack for school, if they don't. So if my child was this, A model student that, straight A's, good behavior, doing great all the time, and, getting all these extra academic things done, yeah, I would be more inclined in that respect to help out more and help pay for student loan stuff, because I could see that being a good investment for their future, knowing that if I put out tens of thousands of dollars into their education, that they're actually going to benefit from it and they're going to use it because they have a track record of kicking ass in school. Versus if I had a child that, was not always getting the good grades, was getting in trouble a lot, wasn't showing up to school, didn't want to go to school, was late all the time, maybe, never brought home homework, or maybe, lied about the homework, or maybe, was, half-assing tests or losing books, or, basically if you could clearly see that, hey, just school isn't for this person. School isn't for them. All right. In that moment, after watching that to the point where they're graduating high school and then they're about to go off to college, you can make that assessment that that's a bad financial investment, because if they didn't do well all these years in school, they're not going to all of a sudden have a change of heart and be awesome in college. That's not how that works. Right. So we watch our children grow up, and then we make that determination as parents if it's a good investment or not. There is not one thing out there written in stone. There is no bylaw. There is nothing. It's not even traditional. There is no basis out there that says you have to pay for your children's college, that you have to pay for furthering education. Well-off, wealthy people will do that for their kids to try to have them, achieve greatness earlier in life, because it's beneficial to do that. But a lot of these families that do that, they are coming from a successful standpoint, and they may have things lined up for their kids as soon as they get out of school. All right. I'm going to give you an example of somebody that was well off that became more well off without having to go to the educational system. A guy I went to high school with, I've known my whole life, well, since basically kindergarten. I've known this guy from kindergarten through high school. We went to the same school growing up, and his family had, they were pretty well off. Okay. I don't remember what his mom did, but he was pretty high up within the coal mines. Okay. And this dude, we weren't really friends. Like, we knew each other. We knew who we were. We didn't really talk much. We maybe saw each other outside of school handful of times, maybe hung out once or twice. And I think we played sports together. Acquaintance at best. So his dad basically gets him straight in, square away, and this kid's making great money right out of high school, while a lot of us were still trying to get it together. And that was a situation where you didn't need college. It was his dad watched him grow up and saw he had a work ethic and stuff like that, and said, okay, I'm going to get you in with me, and you're going to come, you're going to rock and roll, and you're going to kick ass. And this dude's been pretty much set since. All right. No problems. So I've known other people too, though, that were so well off that their education was so decent, like their family's education was so decent that it didn't make sense to not push their kids into school. Now, so see me, I'm a little bit different. Old Doomy over here didn't go to traditional college. Doomy went to trade school, okay? And then Doomy went to local colleges for law enforcement stuff and for, EMS stuff, community colleges. That's what I did, all right? And a lot of these things were paid for. Not by my parents, but by grants and local governments and things like that. Covered these expenses. Now, my oldest son, I suggested multiple times, like, dude, you ought to go to trade school, and I will tell everybody this. You don't have to land on one thing. You just go and you get that education while it's free and available to you, so you have a fallback. You can go you can go to the trade school while you're in high school and have it more or less paid for while you're in high school, like a VOTEC, a vocational program. All right. Say you don't want to be a welder, you take it, it's a fallback. Say you don't want to be an electrician, you take it, it's a fallback. Say you don't want to do auto body, you take it, it's a fallback, right? You get this, you acquire it, you have it, you're certified, you are employable for much higher at this point than minimum wage. You just take it, you get it. and then it's done and it's over. And you have these educations long before you get out of high school. And I wish we would bring back more vocational programs. I had a lot of friends that went for vocational programs, and they've done really well for themselves. Some of them use them, some have not. Some do it on the side, some started their own businesses. But just to wrap up this segment, it is not your job as a parent, written in stone anywhere out there, to send these little shits off to college and give them a full free ride. It does not have to be that way. That's it. We're out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you tomorrow. Producer Scooter, I'm going to thank you in advance for being so awesome and getting this edited and uploaded.
News, facts, and opinions. This is the Doom Daily Show.